Minority clash with presidency over letter ordering parliament to cease and desist from attempting to transmit anti-gay bill to the president for his assent. We'll bring you more as NDC flag bearer John Mahama wades into debate as he says the presidency's posture smacks of disrespect to the clerk and parliament as an institution. So does Parliament consider that they have served the President with copies of the bill, and does the constitutional 7-day timeline already kick in? We have more. Tonight, the minority in Parliament is on a collision course with the Presidency as they urge the Clerk to Parliament, Cyril Oting Insia, to ignore a letter from the Presidency warning him against any attempt to send the President copies of the controversial anti-gay bill. Now, the Clerk to Parliament tried without success to transmit copies to the President for his signature. The minority already say the President's countenance is untenable and they cannot be injuncted. The latest is that the minority say the Clerk to Parliament should disregard the letter from the Presidency. Haruna Idrisu is former minority leader and MP for Tamale South. As he spoke, MP for Ota for Vincent Ekwasefua also says the Tamale North MP is completely misreading the Constitution. And as far as he's concerned, the President has done nothing wrong and he's right to stop the clerk from bringing him the bills. Now, a lot more people have been reacting to this story and we'll bring you all the angles to this. But let's go to Parliament now and speak to our Parliamentary Affairs correspondent, Kweku Asante, who joins us with some details. Kweku, did the issue come up on the floor of Parliament?
Well, that was the expectation. The expectation was that the former minority leader who raised this issue on the floor, and that is the indication he actually gave me. He actually did go inside the chamber to try and have a conversation with the speakership, the first and second deputy speakers who were around today, to try and see if they will allow him make that statement. We did not get any indication on that, and it was as a result he did a news conference outside of the chamber raising this matter. On the floor, it did not come up, but Haruna Idrisu says the President is acting unconstitutionally and the Clerk to Parliament must disregard that letter that was signed by Nana Abedietu Asante, the Executive Secretary to the President.
Interesting then. So do we know if Parliament of Ghana as a house considers that the bills have been officially sent to the President for assent?
Well, as far as the leadership of Parliament is concerned, especially on the minority side, Parliament have actually made the attempt to serve this on the President. And in fact, the officials of the Clerk to Parliament did indeed try on Thursday to get these documents to Parliament, to the Presidency. The sponsors have been making a lot of noise, demanding that the Clerk to Parliament does this job. The second point, however, is that the Speaker of Parliament himself, Alban Bagbin, has been outside the country for a while, and we understand parliamentary leadership is taking some decisions on this matter. And when the Speaker of Parliament arrives where he has been over the last week, he will offer some advice and some directives on what should happen. Haruna Idrisu is already saying that they will start counting the 7 days that Article 106 imposes on the President to either act or rise to Parliament, signifying his intention not to sign that into law. And that has become the second point, where the minority now insisting that the President is simply acting unconstitutionally.
Well, quite an interesting development there. So, I mean, Haruna Idrisu has spoken. What about the majority side of the House? What have they also been saying about this development?
Well, it was a difficult day today trying to get someone from the majority side to comment on this. In fact, the majority leadership will not say much of this because they want to keep their strategy close to their chest. But we managed to speak to Vincent Ekwasefua, who is a lawyer, Deputy Minister designate for for local government ministry and MP for Otafo, who says that the minority, through Haruna Idrisu, are simply taking the matter out of context, and that they believe that the President, by virtue of the injunction applications that are currently pending before the Supreme Court, the President is right to seek to restrict the clerk to Parliament from making any further attempt, like he made last Thursday, to actually serve the president or send the authenticated copy of the controversial anti-gay bill to him. And that the president has not breached the constitution, the president is acting within the confines of the law.
We are doing it tonight because we wanted to go,
Well, so I mean, interesting there. I mean, it's quite interesting for all of us to anticipate what the House will take this now that the House looks a bit divided, because one person from the minority is saying that, well, the president has erred. Another person from the majority also says, well, the president has done nothing wrong. Let's listen to all these people, starting with the former minority leader, Haruna Idrisu.
He says the Attorney General have informed their office 18 March 2024 that the President has been duly served with both applications and had advised the President not to take any step in relation to the bill. It is not for the Attorney General to advise the President not to take any step. The Constitution dictates what the President should do. Assent to it or refer it back to Parliament with an explanation, or to the Council of State. It didn't say he should refer it to the Attorney General. Yes, Article 88 gives him a mandate. The Constitution is very clear. So what we want to do, and it's part of the matters I'll raise before Parliament, we must now know when did Parliament remit the bill to the President. And we will count 7 days. If 7 days have lapsed and he has not assented to, and he has not written back to Parliament, nor to the Council of State, will hold the president responsible for a constitutional breach, and he should know the legal, lawful, constitutional consequences of his action. So this is why we've called to address you that it's a matter of grave constitutional threat to our democracy and to the proper and effective functioning of the constitutional structures created by the framers of the 1992 Constitution, which envisioned separation of powers, not the president of state. He is wrong in law, he is wrong constitutionally. The clerk should ignore this communication. I'm happy.
So that's former minority leader Haruna Idrisu there. Now, once this has come onto the domain, it then opens up for other people to join the debate. And of course, the NDC flag bearer, John Mahama, has waded into this debate. He says the president's secretary has no such authority to issue such a letter, insisting the parliament is constitutionally independent.
Yamamre and Yadia Yamamre Ejitum. A Sumbia war Ghana Hebia engine tum. Christosum engine tum. Islam engine tum. Abosum Fompo engine tum. Inti Eadia Eyechiwadie Emma Yancrofo. Parliament na saying Oma ye krata Omo Ye Huejuma Omo de call president or no sign. Na president akase on sign if you say obi de asem no akọ court anti ono obetwen etie ni court beka answer. And so I no pay me sorry me who letter be a free president secretary ho echo parliament. A man warning say sakrata no more farm ma president office mpo. Na obi obey lawyer obi oye lawyer bia beka cho say president secretary need to me say obetimi atros a letter no. If you say parliament a constitution and a Ashem Rama almost say Omuye sa a new year Omofanko president on. And you can say ma onyene juma say on fam realm po. Obetimi aka say obi say ma president and sign. Into me train 8 years Supreme Court. But don't mean troll letter and ma clerk say more fa and ma president as Jubilee House or enti no na wo hwe senya otro letter no mpo a enye bu otro letter no bibibi to say o tumi bi echa in parliament na sa nyoma no say emma amambo no enkoye enti yedim say ye NDC de ye dimra so na ye behwe senya enyoma bekwa.
and he asked that such things do not help in the governance that we are all practicing in this country. And he ended by saying that, well, people know that the NDC does not do that kind of thing, and therefore when they come, they cannot be doing the things that we're witnessing now. Well, let's speak to one of the co-sponsors of the anti-gay bill, Roxy Nelson Dafiabakbo, who has joined us on the telephone lines now. Grateful to you, sir, for joining us. Why does the minority say the presidency has erred?
Yes, first of all, if you read Article 106.8 clearly, the president has no liberties to exercise in respect of this matter, because there are time constraints on how to exercise his functions under 106.8. The Constitution says when the bill is remitted to his office for assent, within 7 days, he must inform Parliament as to whether he's remitted it to the office of the Council of State for advice. Now, if it's not remitting it to Council of State for advice, then he must communicate to Parliament within 14 days whether he's proceeding to give assent or he's exercising a veto. If he's going to exercise a veto, then he must indicate to Parliament his concerns underpinning that exercise of veto, provision by provision, and propose amendments and justify it. And in that justification, he will also indicate to Parliament that he's remitted it to Council of State for advice. Council of State has 30 days to also respond to the President. If he's exercising the veto directly vis-a-vis the Parliament, then he will have to remit the bill back to Parliament within that 14 days with proposed amendments, and Parliament will have to necessarily consider it and factor it into the bill. When that is done, Parliament will then proceed to approve of it by two-thirds majority. After that two-thirds majority, if it succeeds, then the President then is remitted back to the President, where he has within 30 days to exercise the assent or assign assent to it. So this provision does not give the President any liberties to delay a bill. There's no such mandate that you can exercise a discretion and delay the bill as long as a certain court matter prevails. No.
But the presidency is referring to some two cases pending, for an order of interlocutory injunction, both filed. And they give a date in the Supreme Court. Now, isn't the presidency right to say that because of those two cases, I don't want to, tamper with what's happening in the court, and therefore let's allow the process to end, and I'll do justice when the case ends? If you read
the Supreme Court decision in the dismissal of the Electoral Commissioner Charlotte Osei, no court can injunct a president from performing his functions under the Constitution. That is why there's a presumption of regularity of the performance of functions of the president until a court otherwise removes him. So, for instance, when the president is elected into office and sworn and takes the oath of office, and another who contested is aggrieved and goes to the Supreme Court, what the president does until the court pronounces on the validity or otherwise of the election of that president is not declared a nullity. So you cannot say that because the election of the president is challenged, you can bring an election to injunct the president not to perform the functions attendant upon the office of the president.
Okay. So
it can only be going forward. The decision of the court can only be going forward. But it cannot affect any decision that it takes whilst occupying that office. That is why if anybody, and in any case, let's make this point clear, that you can only challenge an act of parliament. A bill is not an act of parliament properly so called. So it is only when a bill is declared unconstitutional that its effect can be Can be challenged.
Okay. Let's bring in Associate Professor, School of Law, University of Ghana, Professor Kojo Appiah. Prof, I'm grateful to you for joining us here. There appears to be a constitutional crisis here. Looking at what's happening, the Clerk of Parliament has a duty to honor. The presidency says it should not transmit educators. Now, does that constitution speak on what must be done? Our 1992 constitution, does it speak on exactly what must be done?
Thank you for having me. I think this shouldn't constitute a constitutional crisis. The matter has gone into the arena of where we have to determine what an injunction is, or an application for an injunction means. They say this is an interlocutory injunction, and it means that it's an interim injunction that is being sought for. And of course, there are two schools of thought as to whether, if an injunction is placed before the case for injunction is brought before the court, the injunction should immediately take effect. In other words, the person who is being injuncted should not do anything until the court hears the case, or whether the person is not prevented from doing anything as prescribed in the injunction application until the court hears the case. I remember, I think last year or so, when the e-levy bill came about, there was an attempt to injunct the president from assenting to that bill. But the president rather went ahead and assented to the bill for it to come into effect. Mm-hmm. And I recall very well, NDC is one of those that were not in favor of the position taken by the president. So at that point, the NDC view is that when an injunction is issued, it should immediately hold the hands of the one against whom it is issued, in this case the president, until the case is determined by the courts. So we all were not in favor of the decision taken by the president and thought that he didn't act according to the requirements of the Constitution. So if the president at this time decides not to sign the bill or assent to the bill, but to wait for the court to pronounce on it, I think the president is doing the right thing. So all that we have to do is to wait for the president, for the court to make a determination of the injunction. Then we'll know the way forward. I think that is what the president is trying to say. As for the letter signed by the executive secretary, I don't think it carries any weight, because it is not the president himself saying that the law is not going to accept the bill for him to accept. So that is what the position of the law is.
You heard Honorable Dafia Makbode cite the Supreme Court judgment in which the president cannot be injuncted from performing its, his constitutionally mandated role. So, and then of course, you also brought in the e-levy bill when it was passed by Parliament, and someone went to court. The president still signed it. So, what is happening here is the president and the minority, all of them choosing and picking what, and of course, which of the areas they will argue for and against at which point in time.
Well, you can say that there's choosing and picking, and that is where politics come into the picture. But I look at it from the purely legal angle and say that the president probably wants to do the right thing this time. That is why he's saying that my hands are held until there's a determination by the court, because that is the view that generally should be. Because if that person who is being injuncted through that application says that,
Prof, I don't know if you are close to a radio set. If you are, kindly lower the volume or turn it down for us.
No, actually.
You are not interested?
No.
Okay. All right, let's hear you, sir.
Is it better?
Yes, we'll manage.
Okay, so I'm saying that if a person is injuncted, application has not been heard, a person who is law-abiding will actually not take any action until the case is heard, so that it will not be as if he or she will be taking advantage of the gap between the time the case is filed until the case is heard, so that he will do anything quickly to make the nullity, the grant of the injunction a nullity. So I think the proper position is for the president not to act until a determination is made by the court, in which case he wouldn't have any choice than to comply.
Thank you for that education. Now, Mr. Davian, you listened to Professor Etia there. Do you side with him that, well, in the e-levy bill, you wanted the president not to assent to the bill? And that's the same thing he's doing today. That because there's a case in court, he says, I'll wait for the process to end before I take an action. Isn't he right there?
Now, yes, I may be right, but I am asking, is it prudent for the president has to be tied in performing his constitutional duties? Because I cited the case law, I cited the doctrine of law, which is presumption of regularity of actions, all actions performed until the court of law otherwise pronounces. But let me ask this, and Prof, I mean, my great professor, my lecturer, I mean, he taught me law, and so I have very high regard for him. He taught me at the postgraduate level as well. But let me ask this. If tomorrow I sue the Chief Justice in respect of the performance of his administrative functions and all that for some matter, so I am aggrieved, can I bring an injunction against the Chief Justice and proceed to say that based on that, she shouldn't perform all her constitutional functions, including empanelment of court? Can you imagine the absurdity and the chaos that would generate?
But again, when the e-levy issue came up and you didn't want the president to assent to the bill, weren't you aware of that provision that the president should not be stopped from performing his constitutionally mandated responsibility?
Let me give you a lot of instances. For instance, when the president unconstitutionally removed the Auditor General Domelevo from office, he was injuncted. He was told to restore the man until the Supreme Court pronounces otherwise. He refused. Domelevo never went back to office. The Supreme Court went ahead to pronounce that his actions were unconstitutional. There's been no consequences. So I am saying that the president is rather being very convenient with this decision because it favors the position he has taken without even seeing the risk, without even having engaged the people. He alludes to the fact that a certain rate has been filed or supposed to have been filed. So I am saying that the president, if he decides to stay his own hands in this matter, what is Parliament supposed to do within the meaning of Article 106.8?
Okay.
Is Parliament also supposed to stay askance on askance and wait until the judiciary makes a pronouncement on the matter?
Okay.
It would have been an intrusion on the powers of Parliament by the judiciary and the executive. That is not the intent of the framers of the Constitution.
Okay. Let me bring in your colleague MP for Otafo, Vincent Ekoesefua. Vincent, grateful for joining us here. You disagree with the minority. Why?
Well, let me say a very good evening to you and to your cherished listeners. Yes, indeed, I disagree with them. The point of law that they are adducing to have been the basis for their disagreement with respect to the president's communication to Parliament is wrongful. Why do I say that? It is settled law, in my estimation, that as soon as an attempt is made to injunct a person, it is supposed to be seen as an injunction. Put differently, if a motion or an application is made to a court to injunct someone from doing something, it is supposed to be seen as synonymous with the injunction itself. Where a lawyer or a person who is supposed to be seen as an officer of the court so pushes someone or so advises someone to do something that will prejudice or predetermine the matter in question, that officer of the court, per the Legal Profession Act, is seen to be in contempt of court. And so, in my estimation, and of course, based on the authority of Ayiti versus Agbofu II, the Supreme Court was the opinion that an application that is made, which comes to notice or which is unknown to the respondent, that respondent cannot be seen to be doing anything that is likely to prejudice the matter in court. So if you do that, what is going to happen is that you are rather jeopardizing the administration or delivery of justice. There are other cases cases that have been settled by Court of Appeal and High Court, especially with respect to Republic versus Mofat and others, ex parte allocate. And so, any argument that is contrary to what the Supreme Court and other courts or superior courts have been saying, for me, becomes very difficult for me to understand. And so, I disagree with the minority position that an attempt is not an injunction by itself. And for that matter, such an attempt or an application in court, in the case of Richard Kerr and Dr. Amanda, cannot be an injunction in itself. So the president is mandated to, as it were, receive the communication from Parliament. And so I disagree with what the minority is saying.
All right. But thank you so much for joining. Let me bring in Dafia Makbo here and find out from you, what will be the next line of action by the minority? Hello, Honorable Dafia Makbo. Do we still have yes,
Vincent Asifua it's a lawyer in the common law jurisdiction, and he knows that decisions of the same court can conflict. I cited the authority of the same court in the dismissal of the EC chairperson. The same court said that in the performance of the constitutional functions of the president, he cannot be injuncted. There's no superior authority to that.
So I'm asking for the next line of action. The minority.
In discussing doctrines underpinning grant or refusal of injunctions, you must place in context what is the issue at stake. We speak of the performance of constitutional mandate. So he can make a very convenient argument, and that is fine. But I'm saying that the Supreme Court itself says that in the performance of the constitutional functions of state, the person who is endowed with the powers cannot be injuncted, because there's a presumption of regularity of rule, unless the Supreme Court says that you don't have the power to exercise.
Okay, so what's the next line of action?
To the specifics, we are ready to deal with the issues as they come. Our strategy hasn't changed as a minority. We'll raise the issues. We'll carry the society along. This is a bill that Parliament, in the performance of its functions, the Constitution says Parliament is independent in the performance of its functions. No other organ of state can intrude into how Parliament performs its functions. And again, the office of the president is not anybody's sole proprietorship. A communication from Parliament will have to be accepted by the presidency, whatever consequences there are. So you can't say that because of a certain court action, even communication from the presidency, from Parliament cannot be received by the presidency. Is that the nature of the injunction? In any case, doesn't the president communicate with Parliament? So that tomorrow another sees Parliament, and we are saying that the presidency cannot even communicate with Parliament because there's a certain application for injunction.
Okay.
Can this country work like that?
All right. Thank you for joining us, Honorable Dafia Makbo, Echo Vincent Asifua, and then Professor Kojo Appiah. I'm grateful to you for joining us. This has been Top Story. My name is Samuel Kojo Braze. Up next is Emefa Apawu with the News Night.
Good evening and welcome to Newsnight. We're live on Joy 99.7 FM here in Accra and Kumasi on Love 99.5 FM affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions. You're on myjoyonline.com, Facebook and on X Spaces tonight. Ghana Air Force helicopter with 21 passengers, including staff of Ghana Gas and aircrew, forced to make emergency landing in Bonsukrom in the western region. We have live details as the Air Force begins investigations into circumstances leading to this afternoon's incident. Also tonight, the Public Utilities and Regulatory Commission accuses the Electricity Company of Ghana of making zero payment to VRA and Gridco, describing them as discrepancies with the potential of crippling the energy sector. We have details as the PURC directs ECG to within 1 week provide a detailed incident report of power outages for the period of January 1, 2024 to date. We have details of that, and hundreds of communities plunge into darkness as thieves vandalize high tension towers belonging to ECG in the Ashanti region. I'll take you live for updates on what the ECG is doing to restore power to these affected communities. Also tonight, the search is on for 7 missing biometric verification devices as minority calls for a full-scale investigation into circumstances leading to the claims about the missing devices, which came to light at a meeting between Parliament and ECG.
I'm concerned and worried because that devices in the hands of an unknown person can compromise the future elections that Ghana will have. Who knows whether this is in the hands of a political party, and who knows what that political party is doing with it. I am disturbed.
And in business, IMF warns freeze of some taxes in 2024 budget should not impact negatively on Ghana's debt sustainability program.
And in sports, Rose Amwanima wins Ghana's 10th gold medal with impressive high jump performance as Benjamin Azamati comes short in 100 meters final.
We have details of that and also towering rubbish heap in the heart of Osu Alata, threatening the health of residents and dimming tourism prospects. We have more in the maiden edition of our series, Filth Exhibition.
They are using this castle as a tourist center. And when the visitors came and they see this rubbish around, let me say, it's not good for the castle.
We have that and more in tonight's edition of News. Now, you want to join us with your thoughts and your comments is via WhatsApp is 05511119997. I am Emefa Apawu. Details after this short break.
Ladies and gentlemen, Telecel is here! Telecel, connecting energies.
Great news is here. Batmat is here again. XXL clearance sale. Guaranteed savings. From now till the end of April, the big sale continues. Get discounts of up to 70% off sanitary wares, light tiles, waterproofing, and all other product families. It's the year to get things done. Visit our showroom at the North Industrial Area next to the Winners Chapel, Ghana. Don't miss out. Batmat, welcome home.
The question is not why South Africa. The real question is how you South Africa. How you'll come across 1,000 tongues that all speak in one voice. Welcome. How you can wake up with one foot firmly planted in the Indian Ocean and the other in the Atlantic Ocean. How diamonds and couture are but a stone's throw away from the safari. How your tongue will visit 1 million destinations on one plate. How your feet will sway in djembe, your torso in amapiano, and your mind in bliss. How crystal clear rivers flow in the day, and crystal flows in the night. Whoa. We know this because this is how we South Africa every single day. And this is why we invite you to South Africa with us.
Own your moments in South Africa visa-free this Easter holiday. Explore new holiday deals at southafrica.net. Come journey with us.
Thanks for staying with us here on Newsnight. Well, there's a story that I'm sure many of you have been wondering about the details, and this afternoon is that emergency landing of a helicopter belonging to the Ghana Air Force with registration number GHF 696. Many residents in and around the Bonsukrom near Agunan Kwanta in the Western region have been sending videos, amateur videos about this situation, and it's on all our social media platforms. We are told 21 passengers were on board that particular helicopter, and my colleague Michael Ashali joins me in studio with a statement that we are getting from the Ghana Armed Forces on that particular incident. Let's talk about what it says.
Emefa, so this is signed off by Emmanuel Agri Kwashi. He's the Brigadier General and the Director General of the Public Relations Unit of the Ghana Armed Forces. He says that the Ghana Air Force helicopter with registration number GHF 696 at about 12:30 hours on Tuesday, 19th March 2024, made an emergency landing within the general areas of Bonsukrom near Agona Kwanta in the Western region. Now, it continues, says that the helicopter, which had on board 21 passengers made up of staff of the Ghana National Gas Company and aircrew, were conducting routine offshore power line inspection of the Atuabo gas plant when the incident occurred. Now, all passengers, it tells us, on board have been accounted for and there were no fatalities. However, they have been evacuated and are currently undergoing routine medical checkup. And meanwhile, preliminary assessments have commenced to ascertain the cause of the incident, Emefa.
Okay, so that's the statement from the Ghana Armed Forces coming in explaining that particular incident. We'll be hearing from the assemblyman for the area. At least this is, you can listen to the sound in the background on what actually So these are sounds of when this incident actually occurred, and we know that my colleague Kojo Samuel Kojo Brace, has his ears and eyes in the Hunter area. At least he comes from that place, and he's been getting a lot of information from residents and some reporters also on the ground. What exactly are we learning in terms of this particular incident? We've been hearing from the Ghana Armed Forces though, but eyewitnesses, what have they been telling you?
Yeah, so the eyewitnesses say that, one man I spoke to said they had gone to Discove, and Discove is some 20 minutes drive from this community. And upon getting to this community, which is called Bonsukrom, in a Hunter we say Bondosua, they realized a lot of people were rushing to a certain area, and then they stopped to ask why. And then so when they got nearby, they saw a chopper which was lying somewhere. They were told that it had hovered the area for some time before falling into the trees there. According to them, I think that when they were returned, these people are workers of Ghana Gas.
Okay.
And when you live in that area every morning, you are likely to see a chopper carrying people from the Air Force base to the FPSOs. So this was one of the case. So they didn't know why the helicopter was hovering the area for that much. Before they knew, it had landed into the trees around the football pitch in Bonsukrom. So that's basically what they've been telling me. They say that they heard the sound, but they didn't know what was happening until people told them that, this was the actual thing. When they got by, they saw that a helicopter was lying there. We then made some calls to understand what was happening, because some people didn't know exactly which numbers were involved, and we were able to get people to tell us, there were 21 people involved, some minor injuries, but we are told that one of them is being transported to Kolebu. Big for emergency from the Western region, because his case, when the medical team that got there examined him, they realized that he needed to be transported to Kolebu. So we know if the chopper has not gotten here, then of course it's on its way to bring in this person here.
Okay. Samuel Kojo Brace, they're still monitoring the situation on the ground for us. Thank you so much with the details. Well, we'll head to the area. We've also been hearing from the Ghana Armed Forces, at least a choice of words there is emergency landing and not a crash, as has been reported earlier. And it says that the Ghana Air Force helicopter with registration number GHF 9696 at about 12:30 hours on Tuesday, 19 March 2024, made that emergency landing within the general areas of Bonsukrom near Aguna in Kwanta in the western region. Well, the helicopter, which had on board 21 passengers made up of staff of the Ghana National Gas Company and aircrew, were conducting routine offshore power line inspection of the Apawu gas plant when that incident occurred. So we're told that all passengers on board have been accounted for and there were no fatalities. However, they've been evacuated and are currently undergoing routine medical checkup. Meanwhile, preliminary assessment have commenced to ascertain the cause of the incident. We're yet to hear or speak to the Director General, Public Relations, Brigadier General Emmanuel Agui-Kwashi, on this particular issue, on what exactly they'll be looking out for in this immediate assessment. We've also been told that one passenger on board is being transported to the Kolebu Teaching Hospital here in Accra for further medical attention. But thankfully, the Assemblyman for Bonsukrom, Thomas Dazi, join us on the line. Mr. Dazi, thank you so much for your time here on the news night here on Joy 99.7 FM. So I'm sure this incident was brought to your attention. Let's find out what exactly happened. What did you see?
Thank you very much, and my greetings to your listeners, and my greetings to the good people of Ahanta West, especially Busukrom, my lecturer Busukrom, Pinansa, and Himapum, or about the great work that they've done.
Mr. Dazi,
I really appreciate what they did. Actually, yes, it's true. It was around 1:30 p.m. in the afternoon that was called by one of my committee members, the Honorable. You seen after the tender strike, we saw a plane. They said a plane. The plane was about to fall in the community. They thought the pilot tried to move away from the community. The plane fall in the bush. So I should come around and go and see. Yes, actually, we went there with the community members. We were there, then we also tried to call the reinforcement team to come over to rescue the people. In the course of that, we were able to rescue 3. Then we call on the police people came, district police commander BNI also came, the Air Force team also came, and the military people also came. So in the course of that, we took the 3 that we, the community people, helped to rescue to a private hospital, that's Jose Medical Center at Abnam Kwanta. Then in the course of the team, they are the intelligent people to rescue the work. They also rescue 2. One female, she was stable little, and the one was unconscious. So they quickly put him into the ambulance to Disco Hospital for treatment. And then in the course of it, I also have to attend to some special meeting at work. So around 4 p.m. I left when the team was also rescuing the rest of the people. Okay. So actually, what happened at the scene, and when I was there, just eyewitness, we rescued 5. Okay. Then 3 was sent to Jose Medical Center for the treatment, and other one was sent to Disco Hospital. But the Disco Hospital, I follow up, that's where I work. So I follow up to the place where he was given the first aid and later referred to a film control. But it was Air Force ambulance that took him to Disco. The same Air Force ambulance took him to the Apawu. So I don't know where they've reached now.
Okay, well, but I'm sure you've been checking at the last time you left the scene, which you say is around 4. What about the helicopter itself? Was it still at the scene? Were there moves to remove it from there, amongst others? What exactly is the status?
I've called one of my unit committee member. Now, the community with when I was living there at the scene, the Air Force people, the fire service people were within the place just to clear the bushy where the plane fell. So now they've all left, then they've cleared the place, but the helicopter is still there.
Okay. But from what you saw in terms of the state of the helicopter itself, at least you said that the military came to the scene and rescued all. From the statement they are telling us, all 21 persons are safe, at least for now. But the state of the helicopter itself, because most of you have been reporting that it crashed, but the Air Force says it did not crash. It just landed in an emergency situation. So what did you see in terms of the state of the aircraft itself?
When you bring I, being the assemblyman, had the privilege to go with the BNI and the district police commander. So I went there to try to see the plane. Yes, it turns upside down. One of each side turns. It didn't landed as the plane land, but since it's like it turns the tire. Some of the tire, one side of the tire is up. And the one side is down, and so you can see the plane tire and all that.
Okay.
And yes.
Okay, Mr. Daze, we are grateful for your time. I'm sure you keep on checking on that situation for us. That's Thomas Daze, the assemblyman for Bonsukrum, and Samuel Kojo Brace is a man from the Ahanta area. Has been checking more on this situation for us. You've been getting some more details as to how this landing came about, amongst others.
The reason we may probably agree with the Air Force that it was probably a forced landing. I am told by the people who were first respondents that the plane actually landed in the sea. This is what they are telling me. I don't know. When it did, the pilot then tried, because if they had stayed in there, obviously it would have been terrible than where. He tried again to move it to where, and so from where the sea is to this place, the plane could actually take, say, 5 or 10 minutes because they were close to this cove. You would believe with them because they say that this plane hovered around for some time, which means that it probably was looking for a place to land. Now, they again add that if it had landed on the football pitch, which the other one landed, the casualties would have been more. That's why it didn't land on the football pitch. So if it actually did land in the sea before, then the pilot should probably because I don't know how he would have moved the thing from the sea to the land that it did.
And seeing the videos, knowing that the plane, the helicopter was trying to find a safe place to land, yet the people were standing there on the football pitch and taking videos instead of leaving or evacuating the scene so that the helicopter could have a safe landing. It's one of the things that at least we need to look at in our emergency situation. And when we see such danger, we ought to evacuate the scene rather than wanting to take videos.
So the video you referred to is the one that came to that came to support the operation that was going on. So there are two videos. There's one that was safe landing on the football pitch. That's not the one which was involved in the accident. The one which was involved in the accident was lying in the bush. But in our place, we don't usually see aircraft like you do.
Okay.
When we see an aircraft, it's hovering, it's passing by us, it's going. So look, I've done it before. When I was young, if an aircraft is coming, we will run to where it is coming. It used to land in Bedubon, so we'll run to it. So I agree with you. We have to educate the people, but when we don't usually see it and it comes, please allow us to enjoy.
Okay. Well, Samuel Kojo Brace there giving us some humor amidst the concerns that we're seeing, and I see that most of you are also sending us messages on what you witnessed in that Bonsukrum area. At least you can send us your messages on it. It's 055-1111-997, and thankfully we are told that all 21 persons are safe and there were no casualties or fatalities in that particular incident that happened earlier today at 12:30 at Bonsukrum in the Western region. You can hit us with your messages, but let's do some other stories now. And tonight, the Public Utilities and Regulatory Commission is accusing the Electricity Company of Ghana of making zero payments to VRA and Gridco, describing them as discrepancies with the potential of crippling the energy sector. Well, this is contained in a fresh directive requesting ECG respond to some key issues, failure upon which the PURC will impose sanctions, including a 2-year prison sentence. Well, the PURC a week ago in a statement said the ECG had defaulted with a cash waterfall mechanism because some of the power producers were not fully paid for their services. Well, ECG boss Samuel Dubik Mahama refuted these claims when they were made a week ago when he spoke with Evans Mensah. He also said it was not fair that the PURC wrote that statement without seeking for a response from him.
Well, at least there should have been a response, a management response, or something that should have been captured there but don't leave it as open as it has been left to cast aspersions as if there's something funny going on. These things are becoming one too many, and they are a bit demoralizing. And I also I think it's so this shortfall on my side, if I don't see it as a shortfall, why is PRC recording it as a shortfall?
If you don't see the shortfall, what do you call it then? Because you haven't paid them in full. Have you paid them in full for January?
Yes. No, it's because I had to settle their what? Forex losses. So there is a 60 days invoice gap for every invoice that is sent. But now, under the new cash waterfall and the new IMF and World Bank regulations, they said we cannot carry on any arrears. So with the renegotiations we've done, we have to pay them month by month.
But this is in reference to January. But the PRC goes beyond that. It says it is to be noted that since August 2023, ECG has not complied with the guidelines of the new CWM.
Now, you see, again, that is also not true. You see, 2.2 on the Ministry of Finance top up. The question you need to ask is, why the top up? There are 200 million. ECG in December wrote a letter to the then Minister for Finance saying, looking at what is happening and the trends going on, there's going to be a shortage of fuel. Can the ministry support with X, Y, and Z amount in fuel? The minister complied and said, yes, I will give you that said amount.
Well, that's Samuel Dubik Mahama, the ECG boss, just last week interacting with Evans Mensah on that report that the PRC put out on ECG defaulting when it comes to the cash waterfall mechanism. Now, this is the justification put out by the Executive Director of PRC, Dr. Ishmael Aka.
The report says, so I'm not saying that you are to pay level A payment, and when you after paying the level A payment, what is left, this is the allocation ratio. If you don't go by that, you've defaulted. So that has to be established. Then we can discuss why you defaulted. So you can't say that I didn't default because finance minister asked me. No, first of all, you didn't go to school. You didn't. Then they ask you why, and you say, oh, maybe A, B, and C was the reason I couldn't go. So consistently, that payment has not been done. Today, I saw in the news that the media have picked up the report. They are on our website. So I don't know where this consultation and not being fair, but why should ECG have forest losses? They're talking about forest losses in their negotiated arrangement with the IPPs. But Evans, you are aware that one of the principal aims of the quarterly adjustment is to look at the exchange rate and see the previous exchange rate and the current one, the differences. The tariffs are adjusted to cover this. So if you have issue why you can't comply, do you believe I should come and ask you before we even publish? Yes. You make us aware because you give us the data in the first place. We sit down and approve a model. On the cash waterfall, as I said, we've agreed on something, and unfortunately, that is not what is being complied with, and that is the only thing I can say.
And I must say that this conversation was had just last week after the PRC issued one report that was on their website that we put out. Now, just today, the PRC is back again, and this time they've given the ECG less than a week to comply with the cash waterfall mechanism and remit all documents on that. They've also asked that a number of documents on what exactly the power situation is from January 1, 2024 up to date should be provided. Now, I'll bring in the chairman of the Energy Committee in Parliament and also is ranking member on the Energy Committee on this particular subject. But first, let's take details of this particular report, the latest one that was put out by the PRC today. My colleague Elton Brobe interacted with me on the Midday News on this.
They provide background on the cash waterfall mechanism, the objective of which is to ensure fair and equitable allocation of revenue accruing from electricity tariff approved by the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission. Now, the PURC goes on to say that the Commission, through its monitoring of tariff revenue allocation by ECG, has observed discrepancies in ECG's allocation of tariff revenue approved by the PURC to sector entities like the bulk generation charge, transmission service charge, and the distribution service charge. Now, among other discrepancies, ECG made zero payment to the Volta River Authority from November 2023 to January 2024. In the case of the Ghana Grid Company Limited, ECG made zero payment in October and November 2023. These payments, according to them, inconsistencies are a serious threat to the financial stability of the energy sector.
And there are operational matters like billing, metering, and the likes. Let's go through them.
According to there's general decline in the quality of service delivery, including increasing power outages across ECG service areas, which started on January 1 up until now. There's also increase in complaints related to billing and estimated consumption of ECG postpaid customers. And there's actually charging of unapproved service connection fees by the ECG, according to the PURC.
Well, there are two key orders. Let's talk about the first one.
So the first one is for the ECG to comply with the cash waterfall mechanism and pay all tariff revenues as prescribed and allocated under the mechanism to secure the financial integrity of the sector.
And the second order?
They are asking ECG to make copies of all government directive to ECG for the purchase of fuel for power generation from August last year to date. Also, total amount of fuel ECG procured for power generation from last year August to date, together with fuel supply contracts, invoices, details of fuel quantities, cost, dates, and volumes delivered, and all pertinent details. Okay. Details of all bank accounts and investment accounts currently operated by the ECG, and monthly bank and investment statement corresponding to each account showing balance for the period August last year to date.
And the ECG is also being asked to provide some regulatory audit.
First of all, is a detailed incident report of power outages for the period January 1, 2024 to date. The volume of load curtailed for each power outage incident, energy not served, and number of customers affected, segregated into various customers categories. Copies of all ECG publications informing the general public of power outages from January 1 to date. These are some of the things that they're asking the ECG to do. Also, rating and current loading of overload distribution transformers, GPS location of all overloaded distribution customers, evidence of publication of all the incidents that ECG, according to them, is facing in a time frame.
Okay, so there are some operational matters plus the time frame for compliance. Let's look at them.
So for the other one, which is the cash waterfall mechanism, ECG has from now to March 25, that's Monday, to comply. ECG shall also comply with Order 2 by the close of day of March 27th. ECG shall comply with the other orders by the close of day April 2nd, 2024. And they've also provided the mode in which the ECG must comply with these directives. Emefa.
Well, and there's a punishment for non-compliance?
They say that failure to or refuse to prepare and submit to the Commission within a specified time provided by this Act can be punished by law.
Okay.
Failure or refuse to answer a question relevant to a matter which is the subject of an investigation before the Commission commits an offence and is liable on summary conviction to the fine not exceeding 500 penalty units, or in default of payments, the principal officer or the secretary of the public utility is liable to a term of imprisonment not exceeding 2 years.
So that's details of that report put out by the PURC today on that directive to the Electricity Company of Ghana. Well, the Energy Committee in Parliament, Mines and Energy Committee, they have oversight when it comes to these two key institutions. Last week, it appeared as though these two key institutions, there's some kind of rift that is very much visible at this point. Mr. Samuel Atachia is the chairman of the Energy Committee, and also John Jinapo is ranking member on the Energy Committee. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your patience and also joining us here on Newsnight.
It's my pleasure as always.
Thank you so much. Well, I'll start with you, Ms. Natachia. Really, you have oversight when it comes to these two key institutions. First, there was a report on this cash waterfall. Now they've been giving 1 week, that's ECG. From where you sit, really, what's really the difficulty or the challenge with ECG complying with this cash waterfall and then also this fuel purchase issues that have come up so far?
Well, I think the minority on the committee mooted the idea that because of how topical it has become in relation to the power outages, we should bring EC, Electricity Company of Ghana, and the rest of the stakeholders for an interrogation. That was eminently sensible. Nobody was going to fight this arrangement. So they were scheduled to have come today. No, they were scheduled to have come today, but unfortunately, the minister was trying to give an excuse that they will not get the full complement of the individuals who come and dilate on the matter. But we told the deputy minister, that it doesn't really matter if the heads of those institutions are not around, but there will always be somebody who can speak for the head of the institution. So we should revert, and so they come tomorrow. So this is where we are, but my instincts are that I will play a responsible referee. The issues raised by PURC are very serious. I wouldn't downplay it at all. I've also heard what Electricity Company of Ghana is trying to put across. I will not eat the meal until it's cooked. So we're waiting for the minister's response. Probably I might call it right after this because what is being raised in the public domain is not a child's play. Understand? If you have a whole institution generating power, virtually fighting the regulator, then we are not safe. And if there are challenges, you, the operator in the field, should go to the one who has the mandate of law to superintend your affairs, to go and broker the deals that will make you do what is expected of you. But the way it is degenerating, for it to be something in the public domain, I think the minority on the committee are right that we should all converge and look at this matter critically. Because when it comes to electricity, it doesn't wear, party colors. We should look at it as a nation. Everywhere there are complaints. And let's see how we'll be able to bring sanity to bear on the matter.
Well, Mr.
This is what I would say for now.
We are grateful. But Mr. Jinapo, last week you heard the ECG refutes the claims that they are defaulted in their payments to the various power producers. You've been on this issue for some time now, but also the key concern for ECG is also the method being used by the PRC. For you, is that the way to go?
There's a cash waterfall mechanism. That mechanism is a formula you ought to follow. If you say that the Minister of Finance directed you outside of the cash waterfall mechanism to go procure fuel, you are breaching the cash waterfall mechanism. Moreover, ECG is not a generation company. How did ECG know the shortage of fuel? ECG does not generate electricity. They are a distributor. So if the generation companies or entities have a problem with fuel, they go to the Ministry of Energy or to the PURC. Why should the Ministry of Finance be the one directing ECG when ECG comes under the purview of the Ministry of Energy to procure fuel? These are the root cause of the problems we are having. Because it's not the duty of the Ministry of Finance to direct ECG as to where and how to procure fuel. This conflict of interest must stop henceforth. It's not good. The other issue is that, is it true that Gridco has not been paid? That is a fact. Gridco has not been paid. And Gridco is struggling to pay its staff. You can check with Gridco. Gridco itself issued a statement, the Senior Staff Association, that they are not being paid and they are struggling to pay their staff. So if you say you pay the IPPs, you bought fuel, but you haven't paid Gridco, and so there's no shortfall, that cannot be true. So who will pay for that shortfall? But the report states that since August, the Ministry of Finance has failed to pay its part of the $200 million every month, i.e. in lieu of fuel, electricity consumed, shortfalls, exchange rate losses and all that.
and that debt is piling. I just hope that these entities will comply with the chairman's directive so that tomorrow we'll get to the bottom of this matter. Parliament rises tomorrow. If they fail to appear tomorrow, it means it's going to be very difficult to take them, listen to them, and report to plenary for the Speaker to give consequential orders. I just hope that they would respect that. But I thought that we don't even need to get here. The presidency ought to show leadership. Because I'm told that the vice president chairs the cash water for mechanism. If there are such war, such conflicts, blatant disregard to the cash water for mechanism, ECG says that PRC statement is untrue, ECG is doubting the claim by the regulator, then we have a big problem. And I thought that the presidency would have resolved this matter long ago. Look, from where we are going.
These are matters that we'll be talking about subsequently. But briefly, before I let you off, gentlemen, I want to find out about this 1 week timeline given to ECG by the PRC. I'm hoping that Parliament will take it up. But really, is it feasible?
538, Section 24.3 gives PRC the authority to direct ECG to comply. And if ECG takes this posture, your guess is as good as mine. Already, the power sector debt, the energy sector debt, is reached $1.5 billion as we speak. And by the end of the year, if nothing is done, it will hit $1.8 billion. Look, on this trajectory, I'm not a prophet of doom, but I'm telling you by the end of the year, the energy sector would collapse if we continue this way.
Well, Mr. Atachia, finally, I'll give you the final word on this. Will there be an intervention from your committee, at least, hopefully, if you meet tomorrow on this 1 week timeline that has been given given ECG by PRC?
I can promise the nation that we'll do a professional job. One of the things I wouldn't want to do is to support an entity because some people believe that, you are in power and therefore anything should go the way it should go. No. It's not right. Even the understanding of why we are having power outages is a responsibility of this committee to interrogate and find out. Then we can report to plenary and also explain it to the generality of Ghanaians that these are the serious matters which are resulting in this. So I owe it to Rankin and the rest of Ghanaians and the committee to ensure that the minister in halls before us, the other people who are supposed to have an institutional memory and also the competence to speak. Because anytime you say the head of an institution is not around, therefore the institution should comatose, it doesn't accord with common sense. Okay. There must be other individuals with some sense about what is happening to speak when the big man is away. Okay. What if the one who is in charge of the institution is not well? Does it mean that we should be marking time until he gets well? That is what we will not permit. So, as we hang out, I'm going to call the deputy minister that, look, you see what is in the public domain now. They are doing proper advocacy. I don't fight for it at all. Okay. I was very, very excited about the kind of meticulous exercise Joy FM is doing on this matter, bringing out the facts.
We are grateful. We are grateful so much for your time. That's the chairman of the Mines and Energy Committee in Parliament, Samuel Atachia. You also had ranking member on the same committee, John Jinapo, there on this particular issue. We'll be following closely whether these two institutions or the key institutions in this particular energy sector concerns will be appearing before the committee for more on this. Let's bring in George Riafe with the very latest from the world of business. Hello, George.
Hi, Emefa. Well, the IMF is warning that freeze of